like, I don't want to go into too much because I sort of am ready to put my pain down also in my life.
Yes, you
You know what I mean?
can't keep rehearsing it over and over again.
And
You'll
like
never get
it's
over
like when you learn to love yourself and you have a healthy boundary, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic partners, I'm just not the person that can get upset about people not showing up for me the way I need them to anymore.
it. Right.
Because that's my fault if I'm allowing it, right?
Hello and welcome to At the Podium with me, Patrick Huey. At the Podium is a multimedia platform where story by story, we explore the resiliency of the human spirit with people who are using their own personal journeys to leave a positive and transformative imprint on our world today. At the Podium holds space for meaningful conversation, inspiration, and life. Today, I'm thrilled to share the podium with Kate Miller. Kate Miller is known for her extensive work throughout all venues of the show business industry. In addition to her recent roles in Hightown, Blue Bloods, The Trial of the Chicago Seven, Rami, and God of War Ragnarok, she started her career making her Broadway debut as an original cast member opposite Carol Burnett in Ken Ludwig's farcical comedy, Moon Over Buffalo. She also played all the female roles in Sir Peter Hall's Broadway revival of the period drama Amadeus, starring alongside Michael Sheen. In addition, Kate has been seen in numerous soap operas, including The Young and the Restless and One Life to Live, and has been heard consistently since her career began as the Dubree and C-Lab animated characters, notably Debbie Dubree in C-Lab 2021, as well as countless commercial campaigns, movie and television promos, narration, and many video games, including motion capture. Kate,
Hi.
welcome to At the Podium.
Thanks for having me. Old friend.
Old friend. It's taken us 3 years to have this conversation because I've been
Right,
wanting.
but I was trying to figure out when the last time was that we actually physically saw each other. I think it was in New York. Had to have been in the aughts, but I know it's been at least a decade, if
It's
not
been at least
longer,
a decade.
since I've
And
seen you.
yeah, and you were one of the first persons that I met in New York when I moved to New York in 1992 because you were very good. We have a very close friend, Toby Poser, who did the
Mutual
show
friend. Yes.
first
Yeah.
season. So we've been
Yeah.
friends for such a long time. And I remember I was thinking about it today and I was like, one of my most vivid memories of you is you playing Titania in the park at Washington Square Park. Do you remember this?
That's how I met Toby,
Yeah.
pre-Broadway. But you know, good theater's good theater, doesn't matter where you do it. That's my punk rock theater girl. That's what
So
that
good.
was. And then I went mainstream.
You were so
But I
good at
love
that
that
stuff.
part. I'm dying to, I would play that part anywhere
Oh,
again, anywhere.
you totally, and you were doing this like really interesting like dance witch Hecuba thing with it. Do you remember all of this?
Of course.
Am I just weird that that stayed with
I
you?
wish I was still that hungry.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? You
No.
know, you mellow with age. Well, you're just on fire with excitement and ambition and to prove yourself. Like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, because when you're that age, we were all in our early 20s. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like you were doing theater on the streets of New York City, and that was like
Yeah.
that's where it was, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Shit like that doesn't really happen anymore. It's so weird. Now we have Instagram influencers and TikTok brats, and oh, it's so
Oh,
weird.
yeah.
Don't get me started. I'll start to show my age. I
Those
just like
kids. Those
this,
kids.
those crazy kids.
Oh my gosh.
This is seltzer water, just in case. The glass, the glass looks a little, you know,
Uh,
cocktaily. It's just water.
but yeah, I know I was thinking about that, and that was such an amazing time, I think, to be in New York, to be an actor, because it was just like everything was on the table back then. And I think, and maybe it's because we are getting older, everything feels much more thought through, sanitized.
Yeah.
So you don't
It's
take the
just
risk.
different. Culture changed. Culture changed because real art in culture changed. We got reality TV shows. We got
Mhm.
social media. We
Yeah.
acquired all these things that weren't there when we were in our 20s and the 90s.
Yeah.
It's just different. It may as well have been the 70s.
Right.
That's how different the 90s are from now. The 90s were more like the 60s and 70s and 80s. I mean, of course. But like instead of the 90s being closer to the 2010s, there was a shift. Like
Yeah.
the 90s is old fashioned now.
Oh yeah. It's so funny because when I'll hear someone talking about, oh, we're doing something classic, in my mind, I'm going to like the 1940s.
Sure.
That would have been classic
True
for us.
classics.
And now they're talking about like, remember the original Mean Girls? And I'm like, oh my God.
I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much about this business where, like I said, I'm not wish I was that hungry. Like things have just changed. It's changed. So much has changed. The strike changed things. The not getting paid what we were all deserving to be paid for so long. Um, there's a lot of dignity that isn't here like it used to be.
Mm, yeah.
you know, Networks sending you stuff to post and feeling obligated to let everybody know whether you're working and what you're working on. And I'm on this. And eh, so there's so much other energy that's infused everything, you know.
Yeah.
I love what I do. It doesn't, all the stuff around the outfit that it wears doesn't feel the same anymore.
But you've done so well, Kate. Like you really, as I
Yeah.
went through all of, I mean, those are just some of your credentials that I
What
listed.
are some of my credentials? Did you even read that thing yet?
Of course, it's already in the can. I knocked it
It's
out.
in the can.
But
Joking, like I missed it. Where?
wait,
No.
what have I done? No, but it's interesting that you have that perspective because you're one of the few who've been able to break through, you know.
I've broken through, but I'm not, I'm still your blue collar working class actress. I'm not a name. I'm not, I mean, I get seen for the big things, sure, but I don't know how often I end up on a short list.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's a humble, I'm being humble. Like I
Right.
know I work. I've kind of the only time I didn't seriously consistently work was when I was transitioning and giving New York a break. I never left New York completely.
Right.
Gave it a break for a couple of years. Tried LA. My agency folded, another one let me go. I showed up out here with no representation in my early 40s when I had been working steadily for 20 years.
Mm,
That was a tough time. The strike was nothing. Like, sure, it was difficult to sit around and do nothing and you're anxious and all of that sort of thing. But when it's your fault or something about you personally that's making you not work,
yeah.
that's what drives you nuts. Like, it wasn't my fault I wasn't working during the strike. There's a strike.
Right.
I
Mm.
was annoyed by the principle of why it was happening. You
Mm.
know,
How'd you stick it out? Because so many people
well,
don't.
we're lucky we do a lot of voiceovers too. I mean, my husband does a ton of animation
Yeah.
and I've always had a voiceover thing, in my
Mm,
life. And I saved a lot over the years. And, you know, I think that when you super duper worry about things, it makes everything else go wrong too.
oh, yeah. Mhm.
Avalanche of anxiety and neurosis. Everything becomes, oh my God,
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Mhm.
What was that like for you though to literally start your career over in Los Angeles, not the most
I
exciting place at
I
40?
remember seeing a colleague in a big movie, and I'm always happy. I'm always so happy for my colleagues and my friends. And if it isn't me, please let it be someone I know and love, whose work I respect. But something, I was in such a dark pit. I couldn't get a decent agent out here for a while. No one, New York does not transfer to LA unless you are jumping out of a box or a huge name or you have heat on you at the moment. I think, is it Kathy Bates or somebody said, LA only works when you're invited.
Mm,
I wasn't invited. It was hard. And I saw a colleague in a big movie and not a huge partner or anything, but it jarred me so much because I was expecting so much from myself. And I remember just running to the bedroom like a little girl crying. Like it made me break. Something about it made me break. And it wasn't jealousy and it wasn't envy about stature. It was, oh my God, I miss what I'm doing. I miss what I love to do. And I deserve that. And why do I feel so far away from it? And then everything got better. Like I left New York in 2012. I was like doing One Life to Live and whatever other things. Voiceover sort of never stopped. 20, like 13, 14, I got married and got 2 houses. 15, 16. So like from like 2012 to like 16, it was weird with my career. And I was trying to find my people to
Mhm.
represent me and all that sort of thing and settle out here. But it was also a time of huge growth and change in my personal life,
Mm,
which I truly needed, which was why I left New York in the first place.
right.
You know, gerbil wheel of actress, single. Oh my God, I'm in my early 40s. Is this who I'm going to be for the rest of my life? I need to experiment. I think I just knew I needed to experiment. I get that way every decade in my life. I'm like, this is enough. This is stale. I feel stuck. Can we change this and experiment and see what happens when we experiment again? I love experimenting with life. You have to.
Do you still want to do that at this
Oh
point?
yeah, I'm ready to sell the Palm Springs house and this house. They've been on and off the market. I'm done. I want to go back east. I'm thinking about Colorado. I have so many. Yeah. Yeah.
But if you think about that. You move, you have these many starts and stops in your career, and then in 2020, you win a Screen Actors Guild Award.
Well, I didn't personally,
Your
but the movie I was in
the
gave the ensemble a
movie,
Screen Actors Guild Award. Yes.
which is like, I mean, that's
I
kind of,
mean, just being in a Sorkin film alone and being in a film that was a contender at all of the major awards shows, of course, during COVID, when I could not enjoy any of it,
yeah.
stuck at home, you know, just whatever, showbiz, she ain't for sissies. This is what I mean. There's always some horrible thing that you could be upset about in this industry. I won an Oscar and I haven't worked since.
Yeah.
It's everybody. No one's exempt.
Mm,
That's why the minute you start to feel inferior or superior to anybody, it's all ego. It doesn't matter.
it
The
does.
work matters. Stories that we tell and the reason we're in this business matter. The stories matter. Helping humanity. It's a noble profession when you get down to the nucleus of why we're driven. We're just the storytellers that used to be the cavemen around the campfire telling stories. We're the storytellers. We keep culture alive. We keep humanity alive. We keep, you know,
Mm,
morals alive.
a center.
Yeah. That's why I'm proud to be an actor. I don't, I'm starting to get very weird about attention and I'm starting to get stage fright.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
I used to be absolutely fearless when I was younger and stuff catches up. Things rearrange, molecules change.
because why? What's catching up? Why do you think?
Oh, I think any kind of suppression and emotional trauma that you haven't healed and PTSDs from experiences or, whether it's your childhood or a car accident or what have you, I think that you can suppress all those things and put up a big armor and a big facade and plow through them and recreate yourself to present yourself to the world as this strong person who's fine. None of those people are really fine.
Catches up.
You can't suppress something forever. You
You
can't.
wrote in a blog for
Yeah,
me.
I did an article for Medium was what that
Yes.
was. I wrote an article for Medium. Some of them get published and some of them don't. Luckily for me, this one did. And I think that's the one you're talking
Yeah,
about,
it was the one that was called Your Crazy Aunt. And what you said in that, and when I read it, Kate, it took my breath away.
well, all the cool people it really moved. Most of my family it highly offended, even though I didn't list anybody's names.
But you
I
were
didn't call
speaking your
any.
truth. You were speaking.
Oh yeah, that's why. This is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Generational trauma of like if people can't meet the truth in you if they haven't met it in themselves. And I was inspired to write that because one of my many nieces was, I think, I don't know, 15 at the time, maybe even younger, maybe a little older, not legal for sure.
Yeah.
Saw a video of her on Instagram at some club in where she's from. I'm not going to say, I don't want to implicate anybody, like twerking and grinding on the dance floor with some 40-year-old man.
Mm.
And I flipped out. I flipped out. And, I let her father know, and her mother. And I think even then, maybe they thought I was a bit judgy or something, but I wanted to speak to her and tell her. I have like a very strange thing with my family. Like they have a love-hate relationship with me, primarily estranged from the majority of them now for political reasons, many things.
Yeah.
But I wanted to impart this reaction and everything I thought to her somehow. So I sort of did it that way when I knew it would fall on deaf ears if I did it directly. And it also just inspired me thinking about all these other young girls that are out there in this like Euphoria. I was in the middle of watching Euphoria at the time, and I'm blown away and horrified at how there is no innocence anymore because of the internet.
None.
And and the Me Too movement was kind of happening at the moment, and I just wanted to say some shit.
Kate, you wrote this. You said, I never had children, partly because I married so late, partly because every man prior to my husband didn't love me, partly because I had a very different young adult life than my family did, a very different path from most of the generations of folk that I grew up with in wild, wonderful West Virginia. I still have a very different life, you write. Some would call it a crazy one. Abusive mother, no father, half siblings who were much older and out of the house, who started having babies while they were still babies. I was an aunt at 8 years old, an aunt 4 times over by the time I was 15,
Oh, now
and
that number is way higher.
way higher. And you
Like
said
great great aunt now. I am now
that
a
I have,
great great aunt.
and some that you know of, you had 15, you said that you know of, and
Yeah.
most of them are grown, some are still growing. Too many of them have repeated and are repeating unhealthy patterns.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by that because I was like, very rarely do people really speak to, in such an open and vulnerable way, personal trauma and generational trauma in such a visceral way. I was just taken aback by that because
I mean, I hope it moved people. I
it
mean,
was
I
really
had women writing me on Facebook saying, "Thank you. I showed this to my daughter because you said things I didn't know how to say to her,
yeah.
and you articulated things that I didn't know how to articulate, and thank you." Like
Mm.
cool people got it. I do think I helped some young women with
And men
that. And
and
men, I hope too,
yeah.
you know?
'Cause
Like I post bathing suit pictures on Instagram every now and then because I'm past 50, you know?
yeah.
And I'm proud that I still feel hot in a bathing suit. But that doesn't mean I'm putting myself out there. I'm not doing that for men. I'm doing that for me.
But
When
where's
you're
that
young,
but where's that
when you're
line then?
young, you can't you when you're young, you don't know the difference yet because you so want the acceptance of the male gaze or you want to be the focus of the male gaze. You want men to want you and love you, and you want women to think you're beautiful. It's all so based in ego, and it's so surface. And then the peer pressure of, oh, if you don't do it, you're a prude when they're watching stuff all over. How hard must it be to stay a virgin as a teenage girl these days?
Yeah.
Are there any? I
They
mean,
say, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, and you get famous from your sex tapes and it's
yeah.
I mean, I think about what you're saying too, because I remember it was a big
You're
deal.
saying, remember me when I was younger?
Listen, we all have past.
Right.
There are no saints. We're all sinners, right?
Right,
But
right.
I just remember things that I remember. This is where we were. That Suzanne Summers could wear a tight t-shirt that showed her breasts,
Yeah.
and people had concerns about that.
Yeah.
And now you can watch any TV show on HBO, Netflix, you name it, and you're seeing breasts, you're seeing people's butts, you're seeing full-on simulated sex, and people don't even bat an eye.
we're numbed to that, like we are numbed to the violence. We're all numb. You become a robot and you become numb when this is what you do with the majority of your life.
Mhm.
It's incredibly hard not to for all of us, you know?
But but when you look back at your life and how you grew up, and you talk very open and honestly about date rape and having things done to you that you did not consent to, how how were you able to sort of move through that? Because you talk about that you had to relearn who you were. And most
Yeah.
folks don't get that opportunity. Most folks, that's the end of the story.
I think that just comes from me being an actress. It's like at a certain point, and when you hit middle age, or I mean, I'm in middle age now, at a certain point as you grow older, I should say, I shouldn't put it in a age frame. You're excavating all these other characters. You're excavating yourself to play these other characters. You're accessing emotion. You have to know yourself to be a good actor.
Mhm.
You have to know yourself through and through. Your shit, your brilliance, all of it. What scares you, where you're not strong, where you're the strongest. You have to know all of that if you're going to be good.
Yeah.
And I just, at a certain point, realized that I'm never going to be the brilliant actress that I really want to be, that I aspire to be, until I learn to love myself more. And look, it's a process. No one ever arrives at it all the way. I just didn't want to be, I also just didn't, people who are out of touch with themselves just aren't intelligent people to me. I just wanted to be an intelligent person,
Mm.
you know? I mean, oh my God, my like marriage and romantic relationships, forget it though. Like that's just where you're still the absolute unhealed version of you in every way.
Mhm. 'Cause you can't run in those situations. There's nowhere to run.
No, you don't have to have a mask. And when you're free enough to just really truly be yourself, all the parts, all the parts come out and you're like, oh, that one still really needs a lot of work. I'm sorry. You know?
But how did you know? Because you talk about in the article that there were men who just did not love you, who did not treat you right until you met your husband. Why was he the different one? What was
Oh,
the
I had met him. You know that I met him when I was 26 and I didn't marry him until I was 45. We were friends until our early 40s. I mean, nothing romantic. I don't know. I just felt really seen by him.
Mm,
The good, the bad, and the ugly. I was that really rough time in my life. I was transitioning. I had a massive breakdown in front of him in his kitchen, just total crisis, and he didn't run. And there was always a spark anyway. There's been a spark with him since we were in our 20s. He had his own healing, growing, dealing. I think he was a little behind, you know. He was a big party boy for a long time. Now he's like a different person. Like there's been so much growth in this marriage. It's been really, it'll be 10 years this year, and and someone I've known for 20.
you talk about you were really raised by your grandmother, and when she passed, your mother wouldn't let you be there with her, and there's a lot of there's a lot in the story about your mother
Mhm.
and what she did and what she did not do and how that impacted you, and how when she sent you away at 16, that sort of unbeknownst to you was your ticket out, was your road to freedom,
Oh, hallelujah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, totally cruel to shove your 16-year-old daughter out in the world after her primary caregiver had just passed away. Harsh, right?
No.
But it wasn't like I ran off to the streets and she just kicked me out with nowhere to go. I went to an art academy. I went to one of the greatest art schools, high schools, academies in the country, maybe the world, Interlochen, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
but a lot of that was me because I was doing summer stock theater in Kentucky. I didn't want to go back to West Virginia and be there with her. I knew it was bad for me, it was harming me, toxic environment. And I asked the artistic director of that theater if he could help me get into a school somewhere. He helped me get into Interlochen, got me an interview, went up and met them. And my mother was supportive of all of that because she was ready to be free, you know?
Have you been able to forgive her? Is that
Oh, she died years ago. It's a stone wall,
really?
quite frankly. Like I forgive her as like a Faulknerian character in a novel. But
Mm.
I have distanced myself from her since I was 16. That's been almost 40 years, you know? So yeah, at the wedding, like I don't want to go into too much because I sort of am ready to put my pain down also in my life.
Yes, you
You know what I mean?
can't keep rehearsing it over and over again.
And
You'll
like
never get
it's
over
like when you learn to love yourself and you have a healthy boundary, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic partners, I'm just not the person that can get upset about people not showing up for me the way I need them to anymore.
it. Right.
Because that's my fault if I'm allowing it, right? Like there's no more power there. I've forgiven her because I believe people all do the best they can with what they've got. Who knows what happened to her when she was younger? I'm grateful she was my mother because I like who I am. And if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be me.
Right.
Um, but I mean, there was never a connection with her. From as far back as I can remember, I never felt connected to her. I felt like she was a bad luck vessel that got me into the world.
Mm.
Like truly.
Hmm.
I hated having to bear what the energy was around, but I don't know how to explain it.
I think
I
yeah.
had such a village of people who loved me, like my next door neighbor who was my piano teacher, my grandmother, very small town, rural town I grew up in. Like I went where go where the love is. I knew that at 5 years old. That doesn't feel good. This feels good. Like I don't like being a victim of things. I don't like to be a victim.
Mm.
I don't I don't like it. And that's a choice, right?
Yeah.
I'm more a victim of myself than anything else.
Well, what's most unique about what you're saying, though, is that we are in a time of victimhood being very valuable. Aggrievement.
Real Housewives,
Yeah.
politics, like a pinky nails like amount of anyone's life is going to be remembered, even if you're one of the greatest movie stars that ever lived. Like it doesn't matter, you
Mm.
know? You know how freeing that is? It's so freeing. But I will go insane if I don't live in the big picture.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, you asked about my mom, did you forgive her? You know, you get older, they leave us. It wasn't left well. And we didn't speak for maybe a year and a half, 2 years before she died. Some of my family members forbade me to come home. And I now I get to be with her the way I want to be with her. Now I have happy memories of her. I don't, you know, I'll never forget what that relationship was, but I get to appreciate these snippets. My mind has filtered out a lot of the negative and I remember the positive about her, you know? And that's my way of forgiving her, I guess. And
Mm.
that's my way of having a good relationship with my mom, finally, in my life, you know?
Yeah. Forgiveness is a tricky thing because it's sort of this ideal thing that we've had imprinted into our brains that we must do and we must give to people. And I don't know if it's that clean. Which is why I
And
ask you that because your
it's
relationship,
not. And everyone that cliche of forgiveness is for you, it's not for the other person. The other person always thinks it's for them,
right, right.
you know? Too many people frame it as a free pass.
Yeah,
It's not.
it's not. And my sister always says, forgiveness is not the path to having a reestablishment of a relationship with someone.
No, it's not. It's forgiving all of the shit and letting it go. What a two is it a Tupac quote? Like, I want to see you eat, just not at my table. I don't wish anybody any harm that did me any harm. I think that's bad juju.
Yeah.
You go have your life. Let's heal from whatever we've done to each other in our own private ways, forgive, and be in the now and put some good juju out there. That's what I think. That's how I live. I'm trying to live my life. That's why I'm trying something. I'm a big, like, I tend to be a big scorekeeper, or I used to be when I was younger. And now I do it sort of in a broad sense. I just did a post about, like, there are a lot of people that are us in our life that want our time, want our energy, want our help. If you are keeping score with people, those are the people you need to let go of, I realized.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Uh,
Well, I did this for them, and I made the last 3 plans, and I picked up the check this last 4 times. Why are you here?
yeah.
Why am I doing that? Why?
Yeah, I think there's something to as I'm getting older. I've this concept of time spent and access and reciprocity in relationships has been a thing over the past year that I've really leaned into because I felt like in some of my personal relationships, the balance wasn't there. You,
Yeah,
you're
hard to
calling
find it.
you're calling it keeping score, which I think our comparative brain does that. I did this, you did
Right.
that. That's how our mind works. And I reached a point where, like you, if I felt that the balance was shifted too far towards me emotionally,
When
physically
you act like
giving,
you're capable of doing everything, you often get stuck doing everything.
right, you carry the burden. You
Like
carry,
John's like, you're so good at it. You know all the great restaurants, you know all these chefs. Like you're on it, you write people back right away, you're accessible, like I'm too accessible.
yeah,
And I've been joking for years, like my nickname for myself is Julie Cruise Director. And I'll use it as a verb. I'm like, I'm not Julie Cruise directing this whole weekend. Like, I want to see people, but I am not Julie Cruise directing this whole weekend.
no,
No, I'm not your mommy. But you have to forgive those people. Back to forgiveness. Just
that's
because
it.
you're not my friend anymore, it doesn't mean I hate you for any reason. And I forgive the love that I forgive you for the love that I didn't get that I wanted from you.
Mm, that is
Like
deep.
like if the friendship is over, it's because I did not get the love I needed from you.
Yeah,
I didn't get it, and I kept giving. That's my mom. That's my mother, right?
yeah,
Nope. I can't have that now. Then what's the point of then what's the point of being here?
yeah. We were talking about your career in the beginning, and you say that you're a blue collar journeyman actor, which I understand why you say that because in the hierarchy of the world, you know, there's only one Nicole Kidman, right? There's not
Yeah.
10. Um, but when I look back at your career, from when I first really met you doing Titania on the streets of New York City to Moon Over Buffalo with Carol Burnett, working with Jerry Bruckheimer on your current show. He did your current show, right? Am I right with
Yeah,
that?
it's a Jerry Bruckheimer
Jerry
production.
Bruckheimer production.
He was around like on a premiere night. Like he wasn't, I didn't really work
Like,
with
hey,
four. You should say four. You should say four instead.
for Jerry
Yeah.
Bruckheimer. But
Yeah.
you've had an amazing career. You've done Broadway, you've done soaps, you've done
I've
movies.
done everything short of porn and infomercials.
Don't do those.
Um,
Don't do
although
those.
my husband says I could start a new genre called Puma.
Don't do it.
OnlyFans. I'm like reading articles in LA Magazine about how these girls are making millions of dollars
Millions of dollars.
hoeing themselves out on like a pornographic social media website. And
Here,
I'm worried that I post a picture of myself in my bathing suit on Instagram.
but here's the deal, Kate. Here's the deal. Yes, yes, but at some point we all have to pay the fiddler his due. You can't live in a world where there are no repercussions from that. Because
Yeah.
there is a point where it will become too much. And I don't mean that people get their just desserts. I'm not talking karma. I'm talking
Right.
about
So the breakdown of
the
society.
breakdown of society that
Yeah.
people, you know.
Yeah.
But my question for you was, you've had this really wonderful career. You've worked with some amazing people. And I always wonder, hey, what did you learn from some of these amazing artistic minds and technicians? And
Mhm.
also, when did you know that you were that good? Because they're not going to put you up with somebody if you're not good, because they don't have to.
Right. I learned something from everybody, whether they're a 5-line actor on the show and they did something brilliantly, or, Ms. Sorkin is just being in the room with any of these people. It's, the makeup trailer next to Sacha Baron Cohen. It's great. It's inspiring. All those people just, the only thing that comes to mind is I'm just inspired a lot.
Mhm.
Whether I'm on set with somebody or I know somebody that wrote something that hits big, and you know my friends that are doing their own thing, or a fellow actor in a scene, or my husband. I'm inspired by people's talent. I'm inspired by people's commitment to this, to anything artistic. I want to be inspiring like they're inspiring.
Yeah.
You learn about yourself in those situations, I think, more than you're learning from other people. I'm always very like, how am I here? Okay, there's some nervousness and stage fright creeping in. Why is that here now? You know? I mean, when you're working and you're playing a character, I'm not focused on anyone else around, really. I'm in here. Lines to memorize, I have a performance to give, you know. Carol Burnett taught me stuff. Like, don't be afraid to be ugly when you're doing comedy. Make a funny face,
Mhm.
like things like that. But that's pretty surface stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
You
sure
know,
technique and
I
things.
wasn't sure how deeply you were going with that
No, I'm
question.
going pretty deep with it because I think success on a certain level is oftentimes the stars aligning correctly. But
Sure, but we'll also say that every single one of those huge people, from Sorkin to Carol Burnett to Michael Sheen to Jerry Bruckheimer to, you know, other big names
yeah.
I've worked with, there is not an ounce of should I be here? And that just comes from doing it so much and the world going, yes, you. There's no self-doubt. There might be doubt about their work, but there's no self-doubt. There's no self-doubt with them.
Mm,
Like, they're confident in their failures. Do you know what I mean? They're confident in failure.
mm.
When you're 20 and you go on auditions and you don't get it, you belabor it, you roll it over in your head again. I literally forget about these things now the minute I hit send.
I think a lot of people, what I'm interested in, because and I think about people who played the long game in the industry. And I'm always fascinated with how you manage to keep your dignity intact in an industry that is so designed to strip
You
you.
have to, like I said a minute ago, you just have to be confident in failure.
Mm,
You have to know that just because you didn't get that part, it has nothing to do with your merit. If they're asking to see you read for it, that's already validation of your merit. And when you're in this enough and you do this enough and you audition enough, you know that. That's what lets you keep going. And it's fun. Everything is practice. Every audition's practice to be better, a better actor. For me anyway, it is. Keep the wheels oiled, Oh, I haven't played this in a while. Can I play this? This character is a stretch. It's creative, it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy auditioning. I enjoy making my hair in little pin curls to look 1980s for something. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
fun for me. It's fun.
yeah.
It's fun to audition for a role that I wouldn't normally book. Oh, that's nice of them that they see me as a character actress and that I could, maybe play this. Cool. I'll give it a shot. The only person I have anything to prove, something like me. I'm the only person I have anything to prove to myself
Mm.
now. That was not the case. Even in recent history, that was not the case. You know, it gave me a chance to rewire my brain a bit. And being on this show did too. Because, you know, no matter where you look in this business, there's somebody doing better than you or worse than you. You can focus on the fact that you're first string. And if you're doing that too much, you're kind of an asshole. And
Uh,
if you're focusing on the fact that you're second string, you're a victim and
Mm.
you're selling yourself short,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
Just do your work.
Do
That's
your
what,
work.
like, Anthony Hopkins won the Academy Award for Silence of the Lambs. He had what, 20 minutes of screen time total in a 2-hour film?
Yeah.
You don't think that. We can't think that way.
Do your work. Do your work.
It's an honor to get work to do. That's all that matters. Oh my God, someone's going to give me a paycheck to do this. I could be in a trailer in West Virginia. This is great.
My God.
You know?
No, I'm in a trailer at Universal.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think of that every time I step foot in my, double Y. Like I just, yeah,
Yeah.
my three banger. I'm like, hi, wow. The outhouse is in it. It's
Yeah. So Kate, on this season of the show, I've been talking to people about the impact. I want to talk about what you feel your impact, what you feel legacy is a big word and it means different things to different people. But what are you leaving? I know you say we're like this much of space when we go, but you're leaving something. And I wonder
I mean,
what
this
that means.
this this recent role, I like that I get strong female characters. I think that that's a good thing. I'm proud of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like none of them are afraid to lean in and be mean and be unlikable, especially this one in Hightown.
Yeah.
It's liberating.
Mm,
It's really liberating, you know?
yeah, absolutely. To
And
play.
then the irony is people start to like you because you're so irreverent or your character is so irreverent.
Yeah.
Like she's completely unlikable. She's tired, she's not glamorous, she's exhausted, she's pissed off a lot, she's surrounded by men, you know. She's cranky, Amanda Shaw.
Frankie Amanda Shaw.
Yeah, having to work on Saturdays, listen to these dumb cops. Men get to act like that all the time.
Yeah.
Women aren't allowed to show that stuff much.
That's why she resonates.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice when I show up and I have something to do.
Mm.
Um, but I think every woman on that show has a very strong character. All the female characters in Hightown, I think, are really strong characters.
Kate, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you did it, and good luck with this new season of the show.
Yes,
The
thanks.
final season of the show.
It is the final season. Very few things make it past 3 seasons anymore. Have you noticed?
Oh yeah, 3 and done. You guys got 4.
So that's because they can make more money if it doesn't go past 3 seasons.
There you go.
The networks and those big guys. I hope I see you live in the desert or somewhere soon. Truly, we should really get together and do that.
You will. It will happen this year. It will happen this
Okay.
year.
You look exactly the same.
So do you.
Thanks.
You had the long braids you had those long braids when I first met you. It sticks in my mind.
Yeah,
Like
those Bo Derek braids.
everyone had the Bo Derek braids back then. Yeah, crazy. All right.
Crazy.
To those of you who are watching or listening, remember we all have a voice. Use yours wisely. Bye, everyone. Thank you.